All right, let's talk about leadership, but we're not going to get lost in abstract theories today. No, we're opening up a practical playbook, a guide filled with real, tangible actions you can use to drive actual change. And it all really starts with one big question.
The age-old question, right? Are some people just born with it, or can you actually learn how to be a great leader? Well, for today, let's just set that whole debate aside. Because what if leadership isn't some genetic lottery? What if it's a skill, a craft that anyone can learn, practice, and eventually master? That's the idea we're going to run with today.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what real leadership even is. Then, we'll get into the essential ingredients for quality. After that, we'll talk about finding your own style, building trust, which is huge, and finally, we'll walk through a step-by-step model for making change happen. Let's jump in.
Okay, first things first. When we say leadership, what are we really talking about? Because it has nothing to do with your job title or having the corner office. It's an ability, something you do, something you demonstrate every single day.
Now look closely at the words here. The key word is inspire. It doesn't say manage or command or direct. It's about inspiring people to make a willing and voluntary commitment. That means people choose to follow you. They're all in, not just because they have to be, but because they genuinely want to be. They believe in the mission, and just as important, they believe in you.
So what does that look like in the real world? Well, a good leader is the one who can steer the ship through the choppy waters of change. They're a diplomat, balancing everyone's needs. But I really want you to focus on these last 2 points. A great leader is committed to the work, for sure, but they're just as committed to their people. And maybe most importantly, they understand that you can't be a good leader until you've learned how to be a good follower.
That idea of commitment flows perfectly into our next section, the elements of quality. Because a leader doesn't just get things done. They create a culture, an entire environment where things get done exceptionally well. This isn't just some checklist. It's a whole mindset. Of course, it starts with focusing on the customer and having an obsession with quality. But the game changer here? Looking for faults in systems, not in people. Think about it. A typical boss asks, "Who messed this up?" A true leader asks, "What part of our process let this mistake happen?" That one shift in perspective changes everything. It creates psychological safety, which is the secret sauce for real teamwork and constant improvement.
So, we know what to focus on. Now let's talk about how you actually lead. Your personal style, your approach, that's what convinces people that the journey with you is worth taking.
You've probably seen a few of these styles in action. Democratic leadership is all about voting and group agreement. Goal-oriented is laser-focused on hitting targets. Situational means you're like a chameleon, adapting your style to the context. But let's zoom in on participatory. This is the leader who gathers input from everyone. They want to hear all the ideas and concerns, but at the end of the day, they make the final decision. It's the best of both worlds, collective wisdom and clear direction. And here's the bottom line. When your goal is total quality, all the signs point to one style being the most effective: participative leadership. It just makes sense, right? You're tapping into the entire team's brainpower, but you're not getting stuck in endless debates. You still have someone to make the tough calls. But look, a leadership style is just a tool. It's the person using it that matters. And these are the characteristics that make people want to follow you. It all starts with a clear sense of purpose, your why. It's built on a rock-solid foundation of honesty and dedication. You gotta have stamina, self-discipline. This isn't about being flashy or charismatic. It's about having character, about earning credibility minute by minute, day by day.
And that idea of credibility brings us right to our next topic, the single most valuable asset any leader can have. I'm talking about trust. It's not a gift, it's earned. You can think of it like currency. Without it, you can't get anything done. With it, almost anything is possible.
So, how do you earn this trust? It's not about some grand, heroic gesture. It's all in the small, everyday things. When things go wrong, you take the blame. When they go right, you share the credit. That one habit alone is huge. Don't act like you're above the work. Roll up your sleeves and help out. And probably most important of all, be consistent, be predictable, and be fair. People trust what they can rely on. Okay, so we've defined leadership, we've talked quality, we've found a style, and we've built our bank account of trust. Now, it's time for the final boss, leading actual, meaningful change. This is where every single piece we've talked about comes together. And it all begins right here. You simply cannot lead people into a fog. Change is inherently uncertain, and the only antidote to that uncertainty is clarity. So a leader's #1 job during a transformation is to paint an incredibly clear and compelling picture of where you're all going.
And to make that vision a reality, a leader has to have this mindset. You need that clear vision, obviously, but also an insane level of personal responsibility. You have to be a master communicator, and frankly, you need the energy to keep pushing when everyone else is tired. But the big one? You, the leader, must have the personal will to change first. You can't ask your team to go somewhere you're not willing to go yourself.
So here it is, the practical, step-by-step model for facilitating change. You start with that compelling picture, and then you communicate it over and over and over again. Now pay close attention to steps 3 and 4. This is where so many change efforts fall apart. You have to proactively hunt down the roadblocks, the obstacles, the fears, the resource gaps, and then you have to clear them out of the way before you even start. Only then do you move on to implementing, monitoring, and adjusting until that change becomes the new normal. So there you have it. We've unpacked the leader's playbook, from defining what leadership is all about to a concrete model for driving transformation. We've seen that leadership isn't magic, it's a skill, it's a process, and it's a choice. The plays are right here in your hands. The only question left is, how are you going to lead?